As our ship descended through the vibrant atmosphere of Solara, I was struck by a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across the sky, painted by the golden rays of 3 suns. Each sun cast a different hue, one a warm amber, another a soft violet, and the third a fierce crimson, creating a surreal landscape that shimmered like a dream. My heart raced at the sight, a mixture of awe and trepidation filling my chest. This was not just another planet, it was a world teetering on the brink of an ancient prophecy. Wow, look at that! I exclaimed, leaning closer to the viewport, my fingers pressed against the cool glass. It's even more beautiful than the simulations. Remember, beauty can be deceiving, Dr. Mark Jenkins replied, his voice tinged with skepticism. He stood behind me, arms crossed, his brow furrowed as he examined the readings on his tablet. We're here to study the solar patterns, not to gawk at the scenery. Come on, Mark, I urged, turning to face him. Can't you appreciate the moment? We're about to set foot on a planet that has fascinated scientists for decades. This is groundbreaking. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. Groundbreaking or not, we need to focus. The locals have been living under the shadow of this prophecy for centuries. We can't afford to get distracted by its allure. I understood his point, but as we touched down on the surface of Solara, I couldn't shake the feeling that this planet held secrets beyond our comprehension. The ground was a rich reddish-brown, dotted with patches of luminescent flora that seemed to pulse with life. As we disembarked, the air was thick with a sweet floral scent, and I felt a rush of excitement mingled with unease. Our team gathered to unload equipment, but I found my gaze drawn upward. The suns were beginning their descent, casting long shadows that danced across the rocky terrain. It was breathtaking, and it felt almost wrong to think of the impending doom that the Elorians believed awaited them. Emily, get over here. Mark called, breaking my reverie. We need to set up the solar sensors before nightfall. Right on it. I replied, shaking off my daydreams and joining the rest of the team. As we worked, I noticed the Elorians watching us from a distance. Their skin shimmered with iridescence, reflecting the colors of the suns, and they moved with a grace that was almost ethereal. I could feel their curious gazes on us, assessing, questioning. Once our equipment was set, we were led to a gathering place where the Elorian leaders awaited us. The structure was unlike anything I had ever seen, an intricate weave of organic materials that seemed to grow rather than be built. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves as we approached. Welcome, travelers from beyond the stars, an elder Elorian spoke, his voice rich and melodic. I am Kale, and we are honored to receive you. Thank you for welcoming us, Kale, I replied, my heart pounding. We come in peace and seek to understand the alignment of the suns. Kale nodded, his expression solemn. You tread on sacred ground. The alignment is not just a celestial event, it is foretold to bring our destruction. The prophecy warns of chaos and darkness when the suns align. Prophétie. Mark interjected, skepticism evident in his tone. We're scientists. We rely on data and observation, not ancient texts. Our civilization has survived for millennia under the weight of this prophecy, Kale continued, undeterred. It is part of our identity. To ignore it would be to ignore who we are. I could see Mark bristle at that, but I felt a strange tug at my heart. What does the prophecy say exactly? I asked, hoping to bridge the gap between science and belief. Kale's eyes deepened with sorrow. It speaks of a time when the suns align, and shadows will rise to consume us. Only those who understand the balance of light and darkness can alter our fate. Alter it how? I pressed, my curiosity piqued. Is there a way to prevent this destruction? The Guardian will rise, Kale replied cryptically. But who that Guardian will be, only time will tell. The weight of those words hung in the air, thick and palpable. I exchanged a glance with Mark, who looked even more incredulous than before. I felt a mix of doubt and wonder, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than mere superstition. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in twilight, I found myself restless. I decided to take a walk outside, hoping to clear my mind. The colors of Solara transformed as night fell, the flora glowing softly in shades of blue and green. I wandered through the fields, enchanted by the beauty around me. Suddenly, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air shifted, and a dense fog rolled in, wrapping around me like a shroud. I stumbled back, my heart racing. The fog thickened, and shadows began to dance within it. "Emily!" a voice called, and I turned to see Mark rushing toward me, concern etched on his face. "What are you doing out here alone?" "I don't know," I stammered, trying to shake off the feeling of dread that had settled over me. It just felt like something was calling me. "Let's get back to the others," Mark insisted, his eyes scanning the darkness. "This place can't be safe at night." As we returned, I couldn't shake the vision that had flashed before my eyes, a glimpse of the suns aligning, chaos erupting, and destruction raining down upon the Elorians. I felt a deep sense of urgency, but I had no idea what it meant or how to prevent it. That night, as I lay in my cot, sleep eluded me. My mind raced with thoughts of the prophecy and what it could mean for the Elorians. I finally succumbed to exhaustion, and my dreams were filled with vivid images. I saw the suns aligning, their rays intertwining like serpents in a cosmic dance. Dark tendrils emerged from the shadows, reaching for the Elorian cities, and chaos erupted as the people ran in terror. I stood in the midst of it, powerless to stop the destruction, a silent witness to their doom. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall ethereal being that radiated light. It reached out to me, its voice a soft whisper. "You hold the key, Guardian. The fate of Solara lies within you." I woke with a start, my heart racing. The room was dim, illuminated only by the soft glow of the flora outside. I felt a burning determination rise within me. I didn't know what it meant to be a guardian, but I knew I had to find a way to help them. The prophecy couldn't be set in stone, not if I could do something about it. "Emily." Mark's voice broke through my thoughts, and I turned to see him standing in the doorway, concern etched on his face. "You okay?" "I had a dream," I murmured, trying to find the right words. It felt so real. "I think I need to learn more about the prophecy and what it means to be the guardian." Mark raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious?" "We're scientists, Emily. We need to focus on data, not dreams." "But what if there's truth in the dreams?" I countered, feeling the weight of my conviction. "What if the prophecy is more than just a story? What if it's a warning?" He hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I could see the conflict within him, his scientific mind battling against the strange pull of destiny that seemed to envelop us. "Fine," he finally said, clearly reluctant. "But if we're going to do this, we need to approach it scientifically. We gather data, we analyze, and we see if there's any validity to this prophecy." I nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "Together, then, we'll find a way to understand this." As the first rays of dawn broke through the horizon, I felt invigorated. The suns were still far from aligning, but time was running out, and I was determined to uncover the truth. The fate of Solara, and the Elorians, might very well rest in our hands. The sun rose in a haze of colors, casting a warm glow over the strange landscape of Solara. I stood at the edge of our temporary encampment, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The morning light illuminated the alien flora, vibrant hues of blue and purple stretching toward the sky, their leaves shimmering in the soft breeze. Mark was already up, hunched over his tablet, analyzing data from the previous night's solar readings. "Hey, Emily. Come check this out," he called, his voice tinged with that familiar skepticism. I stepped closer, peering over his shoulder at the swirling graphs and erratic lines. "Remember, we're trying to understand the solar patterns, not just chase shadows," he said, without looking up. It was his way of dismissing the Elorian prophecy, as if it were nothing more than an ancient tale told around a fire. "Mark, I know you think the prophecy is just folklore, but what if there's more to it?" I countered, my voice steady despite the flutter of uncertainty in my chest. "These patterns might be connected to their beliefs." He finally turned to face me, a hint of annoyance flashing in his eyes. "And what if it's just coincidence? We're scientists, Emily. We need hard evidence, not myths." Frustration bubbled inside me, but I took a deep breath, calming my racing thoughts. "I understand that. But the Elorians believe in this prophecy. Their entire culture is built around it. We owe it to them to at least consider it." Mark sighed, rubbing the back of his neck as he often did when exasperated. "Fine, let's run the numbers again. But I'm telling you, we need to focus on the solar alignment itself, not the stories." As we returned to our research, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the precipice of something monumental. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see the suns aligning, their brilliant light merging into chaos. I needed to understand what that meant, not just for us, but for the Elorians who had lived under this prophecy for generations. Later that day, we gathered at the central plaza of the Elorian city. The architecture was breathtaking, tall spires that twisted toward the heavens, adorned with symbols that told stories older than time. Kale the Elder greeted us with a warm smile, his deep-set eyes reflecting wisdom that transcended his years. Dr. Carson, Dr. Jenkins, I have come to speak with you about the ancient texts, he announced, his voice steady and melodic. You seek answers, and I believe our history holds the key to your questions. Mark raised an eyebrow, his skepticism palpable. We're looking for empirical data, not ancient texts. What can words from centuries ago possibly tell us? I shot him a warning glance. Let's hear him out, Mark. Kale led us to a grand hall, the walls lined with intricate carvings that seemed to dance in the light. He gestured to a table filled with scrolls and tablets, their surfaces etched with symbols I had never seen before. These texts speak of the alignment of the suns and the Guardian, Kale said, his fingers brushing over the delicate parchment. They tell of a time when the suns align, and a Guardian rises to alter the fate of our people. A Guardian? I echoed, intrigued. What does that mean? It is said that the Guardian possesses the ability to change the course of events, to bring balance in times of chaos, Kale explained, his voice resonating with the weight of the words. But the Guardian is not chosen. The Guardian is born from the unity of heart and purpose. Mark crossed his arms, clearly unconvinced. So you're saying that the fate of your civilization rests on a fairy tale? It is more than a tale, Dr. Jenkins, Kale replied, his tone firm. It is a truth that has sustained us through generations. We believe that the Guardian can emerge from those who seek to understand and protect our world. I felt a spark of hope ignite within me. What do we need to do? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. We must study these texts together, Kale said, his gaze piercing through to my very core. Only then can we uncover the truth behind the prophecy and the Guardian. As the days passed, Mark and I spent hours poring over the ancient texts with Kale. The symbols began to morph into meaning, weaving a tapestry of stories and lessons. I felt a connection deepen between our two cultures, a bridge forming where there had once been a chasm of misunderstanding. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in gold and crimson, I found myself lost in thought, reflecting on what we had uncovered. Mark sat beside me, staring into the distance. Do you really believe in this Guardian business? He asked, breaking the silence. I don't know, I admitted, my voice soft. But there's something powerful in the idea that we can change our fate. It's not just about science, it's about belief, hope, and unity. He turned to me, his expression unreadable. But what if it's just another way to cope with the inevitable? What if there's nothing we can do to stop the alignment? We can't know that unless we try, I replied, my heart pounding. What if the Guardian is not just a figure from a story, but a representation of our collective strength? Mark hesitated, the weight of my words hanging in the air. You really think we have that power? I have to believe we do, I said, staring into his eyes. For the Elorians, for us. We owe it to them to find out. As we continued our research, I found myself drawn to the idea of the Guardian. Each passage we studied hinted at a deeper connection between destiny and free will. The text spoke of choices that shaped the future, of courage in the face of despair. I felt an urgency to uncover the truth, not just for myself but for the Elorians who had welcomed us into their world. One fateful night, as I lay in my tent, sleep eluded me. The echoes of ancient chants filled my mind, and I could almost see the suns aligning in a cosmic dance. My heart raced as I realized that the prophecy was not just a warning, it was an invitation, a call to action. I sat up abruptly, the moonlight streaming through the fabric of my tent. I had to share this with Mark and Kale. We were running out of time, and the answers might lie within the very fabric of the Elorian culture. Mark. I called, my voice barely concealing the urgency. We need to talk to Kale. Now. He blinked at me, groggy and confused. What's going on? The Guardian. I think I understand. We have to act before it's too late, I said, my voice trembling with anticipation. We can't just wait for the alignment to happen. We must prepare. Prepare for what? He asked, now fully awake and alert. to embrace the possibility that we can change what's to come. With that, I knew we had crossed a threshold. The weight of the prophecy lay heavy upon us, and the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. But in that moment, surrounded by the beauty of Solara and the wisdom of the Elorians, I felt a flicker of hope, a belief that together, we could forge a new destiny. The air was thick with a strange energy as I delved deeper into the Elorian myths. The vibrant colors of Solara's three suns painted the sky in hues of orange and violet, but I felt an unease creeping into my heart. The stories I had heard from Kale the Elder resonated within me, whispering of a guardian who could alter fate. I couldn't shake the feeling that this guardian was not just a myth, perhaps it was something, or someone, far more tangible. "Emily, you're getting lost in these tales," Mark said as he leaned against the rough-hewn wall of our makeshift lab, arms crossed and brow furrowed. "We need to focus on the data, on the science. This is just folklore." I turned to him, my frustration bubbling to the surface. "Mark, these stories are a part of their culture. They hold meanings that go beyond our understanding. If we ignore them, we might miss something crucial." His eyes narrowed, skepticism etched across his face. "And if we get too caught up in their myths, we'll miss the science that could actually help them. We have to approach this from a rational standpoint." "Rational?" I scoffed, pacing the small space. "What do you think we're dealing with here? A simple solar phenomenon? This isn't just about suns aligning, it's about their entire civilization hanging in the balance. The Elorians believe their destruction is imminent, and we can't just turn a blind eye to what they're telling us." Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I understand that, but we have a responsibility to apply our knowledge, not to get swept away by superstition." I felt a pang of disappointment. Mark was brilliant, but his hard-nosed skepticism often felt like a weight dragging me down. What if the prophecy is real? What if the guardian is real? We've already seen signs that things are changing. The alignment is getting closer, and we're running out of time. "Then let's spend that time gathering data instead of chasing shadows," he countered, his voice firm. I could feel the tension between us thickening, like the air before a storm. "You know," I said, trying to steady my voice, "there's a reason ancient civilizations cling to their myths. They hold wisdom that can't always be measured in numbers." Mark stepped closer, his expression softening slightly. "And I get that. But wisdom without evidence can lead to disaster. We need to be practical, Emily." Just then, a soft voice interrupted us. It was Kale, his presence both calming and commanding. "You speak of wisdom, but wisdom often resides in the union of knowledge and belief." I turned to Kale, grateful for his timely intervention. "Kael, I." "Let her explore, Mark," Kale said, his voice like a gentle breeze. "The Guardian is not simply a tale of old. It embodies the spirit of our people, and perhaps it holds keys to our survival. If Emily feels a connection to this role, perhaps it is worth investigating." Mark opened his mouth to protest, but Kale raised a hand. "You seek data, but sometimes the most profound truths lie beyond the realm of science. It is the heart that often guides the mind." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "Thank you, Kale. I wish to learn more about the rituals, the myths. They might lead us to something that can help." Kale nodded, a faint smile breaking through his serious demeanor. "Then join me at the Temple of Ancients tomorrow at dawn. There the stories are inscribed in stone, and the rituals still echo through our land." As Kale walked away, I turned to Mark, who was still frowning. "I know you're worried, but I feel like this could be the turning point. We need to understand their culture to comprehend the prophecy fully." Mark sighed, his resolve wavering. "Okay, but we need to gather scientific data too. I'll help, but I won't abandon our research." "Agreed," I replied, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe there's a way to merge both worlds. The following morning, I awoke before dawn, a sense of anticipation bubbling within me. The air was crisp, and the first rays of the suns began to peek over the horizon, casting a golden hue over the landscape. I made my way to the Temple of Ancients, which stood majestic and imposing against the backdrop of the awakening sky. As I approached, I could feel the weight of history pressing down on me. The temple was adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes of Elorian life, their struggles, and triumphs. I reached out to touch the cool stone, feeling a pulse of energy that vibrated through me. Kale was already there, waiting. "Welcome, Emily." Here, the stories of our people lie not just in words, but in the very fabric of this temple. I nodded, stepping inside the vast chamber. The walls were lined with glowing symbols that seemed to dance in the dim light. What are these? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. They are the ancient texts, our history, Kale explained, walking over to a large mural depicting the alignment of the suns. They tell of the guardian who came before, the one who saved us from destruction. I stared at the mural, entranced. What happened to them? How did they do it? Kale gestured to the symbols around us. The guardian understood the balance of power, the connection between the land, the people, and the stars. When the suns aligned, they harnessed the energy in this temple, channeling it to alter fate. I felt a shiver run down my spine. Could I become that guardian? Kale's gaze pierced through me, searching for something within. Perhaps you already are, Emily. You have the spirit of the guardian within you, a willingness to embrace both science and myth. I closed my eyes, envisioning the alignment, the chaos, and the potential for change. But how do I harness this energy? How can I alter fate? Kale smiled gently. You must first understand the heart of our stories. Only then can you wield the power that lies within. As we began to explore the intricate texts and murals, I felt a connection to something far greater than myself. Each tale we uncovered resonated with the very essence of the Elorian people, their struggles, hopes, and dreams. I could see how deeply intertwined their fate was with the suns that governed their skies. Hours passed as Kale shared stories of the guardians who had come before me, tales of courage and sacrifice. The more I learned, the more I felt the weight of the prophecy pressing upon my shoulders. The alignment was approaching, and I could feel the urgency building within me. But deep down, I realized there was still a part of me that felt unworthy. Could I truly be the one to change the course of history? Could I stand against the impending doom that loomed over Solara? As the day wore on, a sense of determination began to blossom within my heart. I would discover the truth behind the Guardian, and I would do everything in my power to save this civilization. The connection between the Elorians and myself was growing stronger by the moment, and I could not turn back now. Suddenly, a thought struck me. Kale, what if the Guardian is not just one person? What if it's a collective force, a unity of our two cultures coming together? Kale's eyes twinkled with understanding. That is a profound realization, Emily. The power of the Guardian may not lie solely in an individual, but in the bond between our peoples. Together, we may find a way to alter the prophecy. I nodded, feeling a spark of hope ignite within me. Then we must unite our strengths. We need to show the Elorians that they are not alone, that together, we can change our fate. As I stood in the Temple of Ancients, surrounded by the rich history and wisdom of the Elorian people, I felt the weight of destiny resting on my shoulders. The suns were aligning, and time was running out. But I was no longer just a visitor in their world. I was becoming part of it, part of their story, and together, we would find a way to rewrite the ending. The air crackled with tension as I stood in the heart of that ancient chamber, surrounded by artifacts that hummed with an energy I could barely comprehend. Mark paced in front of me, his brow furrowed in frustration. Emily, you can't seriously believe that these relics can change what's coming. It's all just, he stopped, throwing his hands up in the air as if he could physically dismiss the weight of the prophecy looming over us. They're not just relics, Mark. They're part of something much bigger, I insisted, my voice rising slightly. Kale said the Guardian could alter fate. What if these artifacts are the key to unlocking that power? Mark shook his head. We're scientists. We can't rely on myths and ancient prophecies. We need data, not legends. Data? The data we've collected is inconclusive. Look around you. This place is alive with history and power. The Elorians believe in this for a reason. I gestured wildly at the glowing artifacts, their surfaces etched with symbols that seemed to pulse in rhythm with my heartbeat. He crossed his arms, his skepticism palpable. And what if we fail? What if we use these artifacts and make things worse? We don't even know what they truly are capable of. A silence settled between us, thick and suffocating. I could feel the weight of the prophecy pressing down on me, a constant reminder that time was slipping away. The suns would align soon, and with them, the destruction foretold. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. We have to try, Mark. We owe it to the Elorians and ourselves. This is bigger than just our mission. He finally met my gaze, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Emily, I just don't want to see you hurt. We've already lost so much. I know, I replied softly, my heart aching at the thought of our team, of lost dreams and shattered hopes. But if there's even the slightest chance that we can change the course of this prophecy, we have to take it. Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair. Okay, let's say you're right. What do we do with them? Before I could respond, Kale entered the chamber, his presence commanding and serene. His deep-set eyes held a wisdom that transcended time. I sense a great struggle within you both, he said, his voice echoing softly against the stone walls. The artifacts resonate with your conflict. They seek a guardian, one who can wield their power and influence the fate of Solara. I stepped forward, my heart racing. Kale, you mentioned the guardian before. Can you tell us more about this role? How do we become that guardian? He regarded me for a moment, and I could feel the weight of his gaze. The guardian is not simply a title or a position of power. It is a legacy, a path of sacrifice and courage. It is someone who can bridge the worlds, between the Elorians and the stars, between myth and reality. What does that mean for me? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Kale placed a hand on my shoulder, his touch warm and grounding. It means you must embrace your connection to both the Elorian spirit and the science you carry from your world. You are at the crossroads of destiny. The artifacts will respond to your intentions, your will. But you must approach them with respect and clarity of purpose. Mark stepped closer, his skepticism momentarily replaced by curiosity. What happens if she succeeds? What does that look like? Kale smiled gently, a glimmer of hope in his expression. If she succeeds, the alignment of the suns may not lead to destruction. Instead, it could herald a new beginning, a rebirth of Solara and its people. A shiver ran down my spine at his words. And if I fail? Then the prophecy will unfold as foretold, he replied, his gaze unwavering. But you must not let fear dictate your actions. The guardian's strength lies in faith, faith in oneself and in the unity of all life. I felt a surge of determination rise within me. Then I will not let fear control me. I will embrace this role, Kale. I want to try. Kale nodded, his expression proud. Very well. We must conduct the ritual, one that has been passed down through generations. It requires the artifacts and your intent. Gather your strength and focus your mind. The connection you make will be the key. I turned to Mark, whose expression had softened. Are you with me? He hesitated, but then nodded slowly. I'm with you, Emily. Let's find out what these artifacts can do. As we arranged the artifacts in a circle, a sense of urgency filled the room. I could feel the energy coursing through the air, thrumming like a heartbeat. Each piece glowed faintly, their light intertwining as if they were alive. Now, Kale instructed, close your eyes and focus on your intentions. Visualize the alignment of the suns, not as a harbinger of doom, but as a moment of unity and strength. I closed my eyes, my breath steadying as I let the warmth of the artifacts envelop me. I envisioned the suns, their light merging into a brilliant spectrum, illuminating the darkness that threatened to engulf Solara. I felt Mark's presence beside me, steady and reassuring, a reminder that I was not alone in this fight. Let the energy flow through you, Kale urged. Embrace it. You are the guardian, and the power of the artifacts will respond to your call. A wave of energy surged through me, and I gasped as the artifacts began to vibrate, their light intensifying. I opened my eyes and gasped at the sight before me. The room was filled with a radiant glow, colors swirling and intertwining like a cosmic dance. Emily! Mark shouted, his voice tinged with awe and fear. What's happening? I don't know. I cried, overwhelmed by the energy coursing through me. I felt a connection to the Elorian culture, their hopes and fears intertwining with my own. The artifacts pulsed in rhythm with my heart, and I realized that this was the moment I had been searching for. As I focused my intent, the energy around me swirled violently, creating a rift in the very fabric of the chamber. Strange phenomena began to occur, shadows danced along the walls, and whispers filled the air. I felt a pull, a longing to dive deeper into the energy, to become one with it. Emily! Mark shouted again, his voice barely breaking through the cacophony. You need to control it. I'm trying. I yelled back, but the rift continued to grow, pulling in the very essence of time and space. My heart raced as I realized we had unleashed something powerful, something unpredictable. Kale's voice broke through the chaos, steady and calm. Focus, Guardian. You must ground yourself. Channel the energy, do not let it consume you. With every ounce of strength, I concentrated on the vision of the suns aligning, not as a prophecy of doom, but a moment of unity. I envisioned the people of Solara standing together, Elorians and humans alike, their hearts beating as one. The energy around me surged, and the rift began to stabilize, but I could feel the strain. I was teetering on the edge of control, and with every passing second, the weight of the prophecy loomed larger and larger. Emily. Mark's voice was a lifeline, a reminder of what was at stake. I felt his presence beside me, his determination wrapping around me like a shield. We can do this together. With a deep breath, I reached out, grasping his hand. Our fingers intertwined, and in that moment, I felt a surge of connection, a bond that transcended our worlds. Together, I whispered, and with renewed strength, I channeled the energy of the artifacts, guiding it toward the rift. The light exploded around us, enveloping the chamber in a blinding brilliance. I felt a rush of power, a surge of warmth that filled every corner of my being. But I knew that this was just the beginning. The real battle lay ahead, and with each heartbeat, the countdown to the alignment of the suns continued, an ever-present reminder that our time was running out. As the rift continued to swirl ominously above us, I could feel the weight of impending doom pressing on my chest like the gravity of the three suns in our sky. Mark and I stood side by side, our eyes fixed on the pulsing energy that shimmered in the air. It was chaotic and beautiful, a spectacle that felt both alien and familiar. I turned to him, my heart racing. We need to stabilize the rift now, Mark. Time is running out, I said, my voice steady yet laced with urgency. Mark nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. I agree, but how do we do it? We can't just throw science at it and hope something sticks. We need to understand what we're dealing with first. What we're dealing with is our only chance at saving the Elorians, I replied, frustration creeping into my tone. The ancient texts, the artifacts, they all point to a connection between their magic and our science. We have to find a way to merge the two. Mark crossed his arms, his skepticism evident. You really believe that? That ancient myths can help us fix a temporal rift? We have no empirical data that suggests that's even possible. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm. We don't have time for this debate. The Elorians believed in the Guardian for a reason, Mark. Maybe it's time we put aside our doubts and trust in something greater than ourselves. He hesitated, his gaze darting toward the Elorian elders who were watching us with a mix of fear and hope. I could see Kale, his expression grave, as he stepped closer to us, his ornate robes flowing with the movement. Emily, Mark, he said, his voice steady but soft, the rift is a manifestation of both science and the ancient energies of our world. You cannot hope to mend it without embracing the beliefs of our people. Then let's do it, I said, emboldened by Kale's words. Let's use everything we have, the artifacts, the texts, the science, and work together. We may not be able to control the rift, but perhaps we can guide its energy. Mark seemed to ponder my suggestion, his expression shifting from doubt to contemplation. All right. But we need to be methodical about this. We can't just rush in blindly. I nodded, grateful for his willingness to cooperate. Then let's start with the artifacts. We need to understand their properties and how they interact with the rift. Together, we moved to the chamber where I had found the artifacts, their energy still crackling in the air. I picked up a small, intricately carved stone, feeling its warmth radiate against my palm. This one feels powerful, I said, glancing at Mark. It might be the key to stabilizing the rift. Let's try it, he replied, taking a deep breath. But we need to be careful. If we do this wrong. I know, I interrupted, my heart pounding as I placed the stone at the edge of the rift. Instantly, a surge of energy coursed through me, and I staggered back, gasping. It's alive, I whispered. Kale stepped forward, his eyes wide with understanding. The Guardian's energy flows through the artifacts. You must channel it, Emily. Connect with the essence of Solara. Channel it. I echoed, unsure of what that really meant. But there was no time to waste. I closed my eyes, focusing on the energy that pulsed around me. I envisioned the three suns above, their light merging into one, illuminating the rift. Let the energy flow through you, Kale encouraged. Trust in the connection. I felt warmth envelop me, and suddenly, I was immersed in a vision. The rift transformed into a swirling galaxy of colors, each hue representing the hopes and fears of the Elorian people. I saw their past, their struggles, and then their future, a future shadowed by a cataclysm that would come with the alignment of the suns. Emily. Mark's voice broke through the haze. Focus. We need you here. I opened my eyes, shaking off the vision, my heart racing. I saw it, Mark. The destruction. We can't let this happen. Then help us stop it, he urged. Use the energy. Determined, I reached for the other artifacts, feeling their unique vibrations. One by one, I placed them around the rift, forming a circle that seemed to pulse in response to my actions. With each artifact, I felt the connection deepening between the science I understood and the magic I was just beginning to grasp. The rift began to stabilize, the chaotic energy coiling into a more defined shape. But not everyone was convinced. I turned to see a group of Elorians watching us with apprehension, their faces etched with worry. Kale, they're afraid, I said, gesturing toward the dissenters. They don't trust us to use their artifacts. Kale stepped forward, raising his hands to calm them. This is a time for unity. The Guardian has returned to guide us. Trust in Emily and the power she wields. One of the Elorians, a woman with striking silver hair, stepped forward. But what if she fails? What if this only brings more chaos? Then we will face it together, Mark spoke up, his voice firm. We have to believe in this process. If we don't try, we're already doomed. The tension in the air was palpable, but I could see some of the Elorians beginning to nod in agreement. They were torn between fear and hope, and I understood their hesitation. This was their future at stake, and I was merely an outsider grasping at threads of destiny. Listen to me, I said, my voice rising above the murmurs. I may not be Elorian, but I've come to care for this planet and its people. I believe we can merge our strengths. Together, we can stabilize the rift and change the course of our fates. A moment of silence hung in the air before Kale spoke again. The Guardian is not alone in this task. If we join our energies, we can create a new reality. With newfound determination, I closed my eyes again, feeling the artifacts resonate with the hearts of the Elorians around us. I reached out, inviting their energy to flow into the circle, merging science and magic, humanity and Elorian culture. In that moment, I felt a surge of power unlike anything I had ever experienced. Images flooded my mind, visions of the Guardian standing strong against the chaos, wielding the combined forces of our worlds. With each heartbeat, I felt the rift stabilizing further, yet the fear lingered like a shadow at the edge of my consciousness. Emily. Mark's voice pulled me back. What if you're not strong enough to fulfill this role? I opened my eyes, meeting his gaze. What if I am? The weight of the moment hung between us, and I could feel the fear threatening to close in. But I knew I had to believe, both in myself and in the collective strength of those around me. I had to be more than just the Guardian. I had to embody the hope of our united worlds. As I focused on the energy flowing through me, I couldn't shake the fear that nestled deep in my heart. Would I truly be able to save Solara? As the rift pulsed violently, I realized that my journey had just begun, and the fate of both our civilizations rested on my shoulders. The moment the three suns aligned, the atmosphere of Solara shifted dramatically. The air crackled with an energy I had never felt before. It surged through me, awakening something deep within, as if I were a conduit for the very forces that govern this world. The vibrant colors of the sky morphed into violent shades of crimson and violet, casting eerie shadows across the landscape. I stood at the center of the ancient stone circle, surrounded by the Elorian people, their faces a mixture of fear and hope. Emily. Kale's voice broke through the chaos, his ancient eyes wide with urgency. You must channel the energy. You are the Guardian. I felt the weight of his words, a mantle I had never asked for but now seemed inescapable. I don't know how. I shouted back, my voice nearly lost in the rising winds that whipped around me. The artifacts lay scattered at my feet, glowing with a pulsating light that seemed to sync with my racing heart. Focus. Kale urged, stepping closer, his presence grounding me amidst the tempest. Feel the power within you. It connects us all. You are not alone. Closing my eyes, I remembered the visions I had seen, the Guardians standing strong against the chaos, the Elorian rituals, the stories of unity I had learned. I inhaled deeply, letting the energy of the artifacts flood my senses. I saw flashes of light, swirling patterns in my mind, connecting me to every Elorian present, to Mark, to the very essence of Solara. Just then a deafening roar erupted from the heavens, and I opened my eyes to see the suns nearly touching each other, a dazzling but terrifying sight. The ground trembled beneath me, and the stones of the circle vibrated with an otherworldly resonance. I felt the panic rise in the crowd, the fear of the prophecy coming to fruition. But amid the chaos, I sensed a flicker of hope, a thread that tied us together. "Mark!" I shouted, scanning the crowd for my colleague. I found him on the outskirts, his face set in determination as he rushed toward me. "We need to work together." He met my gaze, and for a moment, I saw the unwavering belief he had in me, in the guardian I was meant to become. "Emily, you have to harness this power. We can't let the prophecy dictate our fate." "Together," I echoed, feeling the urgency in his voice resonate within me. As he stepped closer, I could see the determination etched on his face even as the chaos escalated. But in a sudden moment of clarity, I watched as a bolt of energy surged from the alignment of the suns, arcing toward us like a lightning strike. "Mark, get back!" I screamed, my heart racing. He didn't move. Instead, he lunged forward, pushing me to the side just as the energy collided with the ground where I had been standing. The explosion of light and force threw me backward, and I landed hard against the stones, pain shooting through my body. Dazed, I looked up to see Mark engulfed in the blinding energy, his silhouette illuminated against the chaos. "Emily!" he shouted, his voice strained but resolute. "You have to believe. You are stronger than this." "Mark!" I cried, feeling helpless as the energy swallowed him. My heart shattered at the sight of him standing there, a beacon of hope, sacrificing himself for my potential. "No." In that moment, time seemed to freeze. The world around me faded, leaving only Mark's face, his unwavering belief in me. Tears streamed down my cheeks, mixing with the dust and chaos of the moment. I felt the energy of the artifacts pulsing beneath me, resonating with my grief, my love for him, and my determination to honor his sacrifice. "Mark," I whispered, feeling the weight of my loss, but also an ember of strength igniting within me. I couldn't let his sacrifice be in vain. I had to channel this energy, to unite the people of Solara and humanity against the impending doom. "Everyone!" I shouted, my voice cutting through the chaos as I rose to my feet, the artifacts glowing brighter at my command. "We must unite. Together, we can change our fate." The Elorians looked to me, their expressions shifting from fear to determination as they raised their hands in unison, channeling their belief into the energy of the artifacts. I felt their power merging with mine, a vibrant tapestry of hope, love, and unity weaving into the very fabric of the universe. As the suns continued to align, I closed my eyes and focused, feeling the energy coalesce around me, a swirling vortex of light and sound. I could see Mark's face in my mind, his encouragement fueling my resolve. "This is for you," I whispered, channeling every ounce of strength I had toward the light. The energy erupted from me in a brilliant flash, a wave of color cascading through the air, enveloping the Elorian people and the artifacts. I felt the connection deepen, the boundaries between us dissolving as we became one, human and Elorian, united against the chaos. "Feel it," I urged, my voice rising above the storm. "We are the Guardian. We can reshape our destiny." As we channeled our collective energy, the world around us began to shift. The chaotic wind slowed, the colors of the sky harmonizing into a beautiful spectrum. The impending doom of the prophecy faded into the background, replaced by a new reality blooming before us. With one final surge of energy, I opened my eyes to see the suns beginning to separate, their alignment breaking. The chaos subsided, replaced by a profound sense of peace. The Elorians cheered, their voices ringing out in a chorus of hope and triumph, but my heart felt heavy with the weight of Mark's sacrifice. I stood amidst the crowd, transformed by the experience. I felt the mantle of the Guardian settle upon my shoulders, not as an individual, but as part of a greater whole, a collective strength that would guide us into the future. "Mark," I whispered, my voice filled with emotion as I gazed toward the heavens. "I will honor you. We will build a new future together." As the Elorian people gathered around me, their eyes shining with hope, I knew this was just the beginning. The prophecy had not been a sentence of doom but a call to unity. Together, we had rewritten our fate, and I would lead them forward, embracing my role as the true guardian of Solara.